Okay, good afternoon to all of you. Good evening and blessed, happy Malaysia. I see many familiar faces. Today, we begin with our opening shofar blowing by Brother Ivan Chan to bring an anointing on the atmosphere in place of worship. Over to you, Brother Ivan. Thank you, Brother Ivan. Brother Ivan has written a book on the shofar, and we will come to it sometime in the week. Praise the Lord for the atmosphere switch as we hear the shofar that was blown. A short prayer now. Father, we thank you for each day, especially this day as our country turns 61 years as a nation of Malaysia. We pray that this session this afternoon will always focus on you, on your goodness, upon the nation, upon all segments of the society. And as today we focus on the children, we're going to give thanks for the next generation and ask, Lord, you bless the next generation of Malaysians. I pray all this in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Sorry, good afternoon to all of you, especially to our guest speaker, Dr. James Nayagam, whom I'll introduce in a short moment. And with us also, we have Dr. Tan Teck Seng, founder of Family First Malaysia, and I see Dr. Alex Matthew, who was former head of obstetrics and gynecology in Malaysia. And many of you, if I've not mentioned your name, will get to know you shortly. This series, we're on the seventh leg, focusing on the work that we as believers in the Lord do. We've covered on prayer, worship, teaching the word, teaching children. And today we have a very special topic. This topic was chosen before the headlines came out about the recent case of 400 children being abused. And quite appropriately, we have a key child's right advocate who will be sharing on the work that he has been doing. Now, when we hear of this news, there are three reactions, and I heard this in the doctor's room. One of them just bypass and say, oh, it just happens anywhere. And that's one group. I won't give them a label. The second group, I think is the vast majority of us, probably includes me, is we get sick in our stomach, we get very upset, and we shed half a tear or two, and then life gets on. But today we have someone who is in the third group, who not only when he hears and he's moved, he acts upon it. So he's an example of what we call the hearer and the doer of whatever we hear. So just a short introduction before I introduce our speaker, and simultaneously I will just share that which will also reveal his telephone number as he has requested. Dr. James, Dr. James Nayagam, he's best known as a child's rights advocate, a path which we're going to discuss starting four decades ago. A corporate man, he's traveled the world, amazingly, has a master's in child development and a PhD in education. And he's also served in Suhakam and other related agencies. So we're going to hear more about him, about the work that he has done, and how it has been an impact in society. And so with that, I will now stop share and we'll focus on our speaker. Dr. James, you're most welcome. So gracious of you to agree to come on board, and such a timely, divine moment that we're going to talk on this so important topic of the next generation. especially when they are neglected or abused. So my first question is, how long have you been doing this, Dr. James? And can you tell us a little bit about Shelter, Suka, and Suriana? Over to you, Dr. James.
Thank you very much. And to all who are celebrating today, happy Mid Autumn Festival, Mooncake Festival. And thank you very much for this opportunity to be able to come and share. I'm just for as a opening remark, I'm going to share things that I've never shared before. So I've been doing this for 43 years. Come next year, it'll be 44 years. Amazing how time has flown. And it's a testimony by itself, the journey. And as one man called Caleb said, my mind and my strength is still as if when I was a youth. Now, having set up Shelter in 1981, the burden at that time and still is for abused, abandoned, neglected children. And in those days, I used to come out in the Malay Mail and the Star on the headlines, mainly for having rescued children, having stood up for children. I've been to the courts, and I've got 3 police reports behind me where I've protected children. And the home basically continues to protect victims of child abuse, especially sexual abuse. So I started off with that. And I remember working for that organization for 2 years without a salary. And God has been faithful during those times. That's another testimony how I continued to work. And later, I was appointed to the Human Rights Commission by the Agong. And during that time, and finishing 2 terms, the question was, what do I do? And it impressed upon my heart that I needed to go beyond and to be able to help more children, and regardless of their race or religion. So therefore, I started Suriana Welfare Society as well as Suka Society. Now, Suka Society, of course, works with Orang Asli children, native children, migrants, refugees, human trafficking. Now, Suriana Welfare Society works with the urban poor. You'll be surprised at the number of low-cost flats all around the Klang Valley and other parts of the states. They were once the Kawasan Stingan or the squatter settlements. The only difference is last time it was wooden, now it's all concrete, but the lifestyle and the issues are the same. For example, we started work in Desa Mentari, 30,000 residents, and domestic violence, child abuse, drug abuse, poverty, gangsterism. And so we went in, we got the opportunity to go in, we set up a play and learn center, and the work began to grow. In fact, when we first met the Penghulu, we said we are coming in to empower the community to run this project, not an NGO so-called running from the outside. But we felt that we needed to work together with the community. So the community leaders are members of our committee. And as a result, we began to grow. And as a result, today we are providing education for the children, food aid for the children, for the families, single mother support group. We also help the children with disabilities and so on. As a result of that, the work has received a number of recognitions. We won a number of awards, the Star Foundation Award, Gamuda Award, and so on. So we want to thank God for the growth of the ministries.
So this kind of work is always challenging, challenging and takes up a lot of mental, emotional energy. The question that we all need to know is what drives you on? What drives you on for so many years? As you yourself said, you're as young as when you started. So what is it that drives you on?
The first thing that drives me on, and which has changed my whole being, is that we don't do charity, but we touch lives. And people say, you do charity and all, it's very impersonal. But when you actually journey and touch somebody's life, after 43 years, believe me, all of that comes back to us. I've got many, many testimonies of how people's life have been touched, how I've been blessed. And that keeps me focused on what needs to be done. So the focus has to be there, despite the fact that I face challenges from every quarter, times of difficulties, but the happiness, the restoring of lives, the joy that you bring to families overshadows whatever challenges. In fact, there was one church elder, his name was Mr. Brother Ang Chui Lai, once wrote a letter to me, and he said, I'm a restorer of families. And when you see families being restored, and today when I meet the children who remember me, and the joy that brings to me personally, that I see that I'm able to continue in this work all the more till I have breath, that the Lord gives me breath. In fact, I continue to this work, though it's challenging, but standing beside women, especially single mothers, and giving them dignity. Women, children who are sexually abused, giving them dignity. I think as you can read over this past few days, how dignity has been robbed out of children. God has provided the strength and the ability to stand and speak up for children.
One thing that I notice, a lot of us have the misconception that to do charity, you need lots and lots of money. So I see in you as someone who's doing charity out from your heart, not so much from your bank account, so to speak, out from your heart and with your sheer might and energy, and also that one man can do so much. So, we heard about Bob Geldof. He was touched and he was moving for African, the poor and all that. And then he ran out of energy and he called it compassion fatigue. So just want to know that what is it that gets you going on? Like Mother Teresa, there's so much work that you just got no time for compassion fatigue. So tell us how you go through those periods when you feel low and yet you feel you have to do it.
It is, at the end of the day, preparing for what lies ahead. I don't think any one of us is going to be permanently here on earth. And the accountability that is required of us to the higher Lord up there is what we have done with what we have been given and blessed with. So the accountability is there and the focus is there. So in my personal life, it is a calling that I have a mission to go about and to be able to use whatever I have, the ability, to the best. And thankfully, I'm able to see the results and at the same time be part of the harvest. So that at the end of the day, personally, myself, I don't take life for granted. I begin to appreciate simple things in life. When I see poverty, when I see children in detention, when I see children suffering, that brings about a realization of what needs to be done. And that itself is a motivation that we need to do more and continue and not to give up. I think I've come to a realization that I should never be able to give up whatever it is. So that has been the main thrust, not to give up, but to be focused and stay above the flood and go through all the Red Seas, the deserts, and the storms.
I always wondered, why are there so few Mother Teresas and Bob Geldofs and James Nayagam? And so comes the next question: how do we reproduce our, as they say, imitate Paul, imitate Christ? How do we imitate you, and how do we bring this inspiration to others? Which is so cold and cool and empathetic, even everywhere. How do we break that apathy?
I think the more important thing is to have the word compassion. The word compassion comes from two parts, com and passion. One is to feel, but the other passion part is to transfer the pain to us. So it's like a father having a child and she is sick, and the father is praying that the pain will somehow be transferred to him. You see, when we begin to feel the pain people go through, when we feel the pain of poverty, children being bullied, children as a result of divorce, children who are emotionally abused, when we begin to feel that, words becomes very few. Children as a result of grief lost their parents. There were 3,000 children who lost their parents during COVID.
Wow.
I've got no words. I've got no words. So when you begin to empathize and feel, then the action part comes in. God opens our eyes to see the actual situation. And when he opens our eyes, then the action and the obedience is required, not the avoidance. So that is what, and I realize I'm long in this area of work, but I love to do one thing. Number one is to have vision. Number two is to mentor young people. That's one thing I believe strongly in. And I've mentored a number of young people to take over the work. And I freely transfer, I'm willing to share the knowledge that I have.
Well, certainly I will recommend you to the deans and vice chancellors that I know, so that you can be there to give the graduation speech. Me as a doctor and many of my colleagues who are doctors, through life, we do have that compassion. We see a sick, we have that compassion. But once we walk out of the clinic, we go back to normal life. So I think there's something in you that we must catch the fire from. And so at this point, I want to just hear from you some of the positive stories. Of course, they will be anonymous or without their names, of how those life, when they come back to you some years later, it's like more than a reward. Maybe some stories that we'd love to just hear. Anecdotes, I mean, yeah.
This is the first time all of you are going to hear the stories. You see, many years ago, when I was running the children's home, it was 12 noon. I was working at the corporate side, so I took leave to be with the children. I completely forgot about lunch. And at 12 o'clock, 12 noon, the children all got together and asked me and said, what are we having for lunch? And lo and behold, I looked, there was nothing in the cupboard. There was nothing like those days, a handphone or a Grab. And I'm thinking, how in the world am I going to get food for the children when the shops are all far away and I couldn't leave the children alone? And automatically the children got round the dining table waiting for food. At 12:30, friends, a car drives up. A man comes out of the car, opens the booth and apologizes, said, look, we've got extra food, biryani rice, chicken kurma, vegetables from a function, extra food. Would you please accept it? What do you think?
Divine. Definitely, yeah. A miracle.
Come on media, and I've said, it was the beginning of the time I realized I'm not alone in this work. And that has impacted me tremendously. Now, working in the community, I came across this lovely Malay girl called Nadia. She's blind, deaf, and mute. And all that she needed was the disability card, OKO card. And for years, they've been asking and appealing with non-government organizations. None of them could help them because the department refused, simply because they wanted to know what was the cause of the disability. So my colleague went, took the family to the department and said, why are you not able to give her the card? Because the doctor has said that the cause of this is rubella syndrome. And so my colleague went on, showed her what is rubella syndrome. Immediately, she got the card. And the mother hugged and cried and cried. Now, the other one, of course, is many, many years ago, I came across this boy. He was 2 years old, victim of child abuse. You know, I met him this year. I met him in 1981, and he was about 2 years old. That day, he caught hold of my hand. He introduced me to his wife and 2 children. And this boy that was 2 years old, abused, abandoned, is now a church leader. Wow, I said, Lord, thank you. And then, of course, there was another 2 children who we rescued from Old Town Petaling Jaya. And as the boy lived and grew up in the home, he was about 25 years old. And he said, Uncle, I need to trace my mother. And on my birth certificate, there is the mother's IC number. So I called the registration department and I explained to them, and they gave me an address in typing, Kuala Gula. So both of us got into the car and we drove to this Chinese fishing village and we looked for this lady. And the villagers were all thinking, what is this guy doing here with this boy? And we said, we came here to see this Madam Yong. They said, there is a lady there. You can go and talk to her. She came out, and she was very skeptical looking at this. And this boy said, look, I'm looking for my mother. She said, no such person. And she kept on. And then for a while, he took out his birth certificate and showed her. And then there was a silence. And then she said, where's your sister? And the whole village is there. She ran after, my son has come back. My son has come back. And everyone, all of a sudden, the whole thing changed and he's reconciled with his mother. And the mother came down for his wedding. And now she is a grandmother. So these
I missed the first part. You mean he was also an abused child?
Yeah, he was abandoned.
Abandoned, okay.
He and his sister were abandoned.
Okay, all right. Well, we all know the story of Moses floating in a basket and how it changed the life. Just amazing. And as you were talking, the words came to me very clearly that without deeds, our faith is dead. It means that we just die with our faith without doing any deeds, and our name is just gone. Whereas with deeds, you have a living faith, and after you have gone, we will still know that your legacy lives on. At this point, again, we want to talk in life. We need people who partner along with us, who understand us, who befriend us, who walk with us through up and down. So I won't ask you who your enemies are, but I want to ask you who have been your friends, who have walked with you, who have believed in you and trusted you, and have been with you through darkest time. Who are those friends?
As I was thinking about the question, and I must tell you all again, this is my first time I'm sharing this. When I first started off, I had 2 types of people. One who believed in me 43 years ago, and one who abandoned me. And
you are an abandoned person too.
I was left high and dry one time, and they said, sorry, we don't think you're going to make it You might as well close down whatever you have, just call it a day, say bye. And I was left high and dry. And to think, wow, and I never gave up, you know. And I thought, well, I told the person, I said, no, I'm not giving up. I'm going to pursue this. And so took it up. And it was hard, it was tough. But then, why? What happened? There were others who believed in me, who gave me that opportunity, and somehow said, Nala, this guy is going to do it. And yes, I appreciate that. And imagine now, 43 years later, which group would like to meet up with me? That's number one. The second thing is my staff, my colleagues. They were colleagues, but today, because of the commitment, all of them have become my friends. After 43 years, I've staff who become my friends because I've seen the sweetness, the commitment, the sacrifice they've given. So till today, though they are my former colleagues and so on, I still keep in touch and I appreciate them because I treat them as partners. The thing that I impart to people is a sense of mission. Don't come to us to do a career or work. The third one, which I find it rather, I'm still struggling with, is I feel that people tend to make use of me when they need, even at 3 a.m. or whatever, they'll call James Nayagam. But after I've seen them through their situation, they're no longer in touch with me, not even as friends. And I feel, well, I thank the Lord. I've been able to journey with people. I thank the Lord that I've been used as an instrument so the person is much better. Well, what is instilled in me is I am an instrument. I shouldn't look forward for anybody's grateful or thankfulness. So this has been my journey, and I'm thankful that it is still carrying on. I'm thankful that I'm touching new lives every day.
For those who have come in late, we are talking to Dr. James Nayagam, who is a child's right advocate, and it's been 43 years. He's been fighting for the neglected child, the abused child, the abandoned child, and against all odds. And some of you may know he's also a committed believer. He goes to Full Gospel Assembly. But of course, we know his work is beyond the church. And at this point, we try not to touch on religion, but one group I respect are the Sikhs who have been feeding the poor. If you need lunch, you can walk into any gurdwara and there's always food there, And for that reason, we want to emphasize that, we got to extend beyond our boundary, get out of our box, even get out of the church to help to feed the poor. I'm also encouraged to see we've got two key attendees here. One, Dr. Tan Teck Seng, who is from Family First, and also I just saw Cindy Yong, who as a single mother, unemployed, was able to feed the poor in Petaling Street. And okay, you've talked about friends, and we know that you need funds. And I can almost guess that most of your funds are not necessary from the church. And I find that once people trust and believe in you, the corporate world will come and support you. Like my good friend who is normally here, Brother Edmund Chan, he feeds about 1,000 old families and supports. So how do you ensure that this oil doesn't run out? I see like your jug of oil is always flowing, but how do you see? I know it's the Almighty that provides, but it must be hard work to make sure the funds come in.
You see, I and my team, we go by 3 letters, CAT. If you forget everything else, remember C for credibility, A for accountability, T for transparency. Now, would you believe it? As an NGO, that's why what irritates me is the selective manner in this country of selecting NGOs. We were audited twice by the government, by our auditors, and we came up with flying colors because we were simply open with our operations. The ladies came and spent 2 hours auditing us. audited our accounts, and at the end of the 2 hours, these two wonderful ladies sat down and said, "Can we assist you in your work? And can
Wonderful.
we
Wonderful.
sit down and though we are from the government, and you're doing such a good job, can you put on your door that you're tax exempted?" And I was thinking, my goodness me, we audited. Which other NGO? I wish they would do the same thing for others, but they were selective, so we did. And that is number one. Number two, we believe in growing, being effective. So in all our community projects, we believe in reporting back to the donors and community of what we have done. And they can see the lives that are touched. So as at this moment when I'm talking to you, we are doing a work in Taman Shemlin in Cheras. And we're going to cover schools in Stapak on bullying, suicides, and cyberbullying, very present in what is affecting children and families today. So we are present, not so much outdated. So today, when I speak to the media, I'm up to date, or we are up to date with the present issues. So these things matter for the donor. Testimonies. I've shared with you testimonies of how children, families are helped. And so we believe in partnering with the donor and they're putting the dollar to good use. So that is how we go about corporate partnership with the government, partnership with the individuals.
Fantastic. Is this model able to spread out to the rest of the country? Are you able to find other James Nayagams? They may not be doctors.
Something it's a choice that we've got to make. Sometimes politicians have actually approached me and said, can we do this? Can we do that? When it comes to politicians, I have to deal with them with a 10-foot pole. But I would like, and given an opportunity, to be able to train, have dialogue, and be able to share the vision and the mission.
Fantastic.
Given the
So now that you've gone through 40 over years, maybe you can give a general tip to many of us and those out there on how to survive in this difficult world. So, besides looking for homes like yours, how can they survive? Rather than copping out and just committing suicide. I'm sure your role has been very active against the people who just quit. What are the tips?
Folks, I want to tell you what I do. Maybe I have a gift that people tell I have. I'm a people person. I meet people, I shake their hands, I welcome them. And there was this lady. One morning, Sunday morning, I met her. Her name is Crystal. I shook her hand, and Crystal used to she was a sales manager for Mercedes. But that week, she called me and she said, I need to meet up. And then she said her husband has taken loans in her name with alongs, 15 alongs. And all the 15 of them were calling her every day demanding for payment. And I got my team to help her and assured her that we are with her. One Saturday morning, she's from Batu Pahat. The family came down from Batu Pahat, called me one Saturday morning. She took her own life because the husband said he's not going to attend to her. He abandoned her. She went up to the condominium. She jumped. I think to myself, life is so fragile. We need, as I go on, and health is an issue for me. I'm thankful for each day, folks. I don't do this because it's a form of charity. I do it because I see people. I see what life can do. And I'm being focused. That's number one. Number two, I begin to appreciate. I appreciate friends. I appreciate those around me. And I will tell them I appreciate them and not at a wake service. Though I'm good at giving eulogies, but my appreciation is spontaneous and immediate to tell you how good you are, how much I appreciate. The second thing, or the third thing, I tell every parent, and I also do that, lead a simple lifestyle. Don't try to achieve something, but appreciate, live a simple lifestyle as long as you can get up, eat the food that you're able to eat, and able to smell the roses, have that. Don't expect people, let your expectations, be a something on the side, but enjoy the things that are around you. I also like to work with young people, able to like to share and be humble. Pride goes before the fall of man. Be humble. You want to learn about humility. Life will teach you that. And never give up. Never give up. Either hell, I will share this later. Never give up. And I will share testimonies about my health and lifestyle. Never give up. I hope you'll let me share a bit about my health issues.
We'll come to that. At this moment, back to the children, what is it that your shelter home Suriana imparts to the children? What do you think? Is it love, or is it care, or is it education? What is unique in your area of work in the impartation to the children, apart from protection and basic needs?
It's interesting. I actually put down about 7 or 8 things that values children need to value. Never take things for granted. A lot of children from good homes take things for granted, and we impart to children, don't take things for granted. Number 2, don't forget your background. A lot of us we are rich in background, how our parents would have brought us up, but I don't see that these days. So we tell children, don't forget to be thankful for your background. The third one, which comes naturally and it has to flow, the children will only look at you from a spiritual point of view of the love that you have. They look at you, they say, in all circumstances, in all situations, whether you really have genuine love, not dutiful or whatever. And because of that love, they are touched and they're willing to do that. Then teach them to forgive. Teach them about reconciliation. One word that I don't see in any kind of domestic issues is the word forgiveness. Each other's throats. And then appreciation. When somebody gives you, please, thank you, sorry. These are things, basic things. Time will never change. Children will have to get used to it. And being strict and with children, mean what you mean. Be the man of your word. I find children, when I keep to my word, that's the best form of punishment. And withdrawal of remuneration withdrawal of whatever privileges is effective, more effective than using the cane. So all of these things put together help the child develop positively, not artificially. As you can see, a lot of children from affluent families, they develop artificially.
How long are they with you for, and up to what age, or do you channel them to other homes or return them to their parents? What is the kind of flow once they come to your home?
Children, the hope is that they will be reconciled to their families as soon as possible. But there are children who live up to adult life, adult age, and then, of course, still being followed up. But a child is followed up all the way through till they're stable. And they can still continue to come back to us because we are the parent figures that they will know.
Fantastic. Yeah. So I'm sure it's been 43 rich years, and maybe you want to tell us some of your high points and your low points so that we can see, that it's not a bed of roses, it's tough, but in the end, it's worth it. I'm sure. Otherwise, you won't still be doing it. Maybe you want to highlight some areas, even to appreciate any groups that have been behind all this work with you. I'm sure the welfare department has appreciated your work too.
Yeah, well, I come to you in two parts. Running the home and all that, there was one time MPPJ issued an eviction notice because the home that is there is alongside the MPPJ president's residence. And they wanted to make it a protocol road, just like the Istana Road. So they wanted that particular road. And whatever other activities, they gave notice to clear out. So I met the MPPJ council, mind you. I went to the council. They asked me to come to the council meeting. They said, why are you running this? So I said, excuse me, you have places of worship, you have restaurants, you have storehouses, your offices. Here, children are staying in a home. And, they were very arrogant and told me to clear off. I said, well, I won't move. And you know what happens over the years? The MPPJ council has got new members. The president's house is abandoned. In fact, they have a go down of lorries parked there, and we are still there. Another time, a neighbor complained to Dewan Bandaraya, and they gave us a $20,000 fine. I went and saw the officer together with the Department of Social Welfare. What he did? Oh, they do good work. He just took out the notice, tore it. He said, settled. That is the other part. But from the health part, I'm going to shock you folks. In 2016, I was hit by an autoimmune disease called myasthenia gravis. And boy, that I was stuck 6 months. I couldn't move. And I was in and out of the hospital. But you know something, folks, the professor who attended to me said, of course, he put me on to some things to improve my eyesight. But he told me this, he said, I'm not going to give you steroids. You have to come out of it. And today, he rejoices with me each time he sits with me and said, you did it. I'm completely healed. I have my appointment once a year. I know it is not returned back, but I'm healed. And my eyesight and my movements are well. And this goes down as a miracle that I've experienced. But health being health, in 2020, during the COVID, I couldn't go for my hiking. So I went to the nearest park near my house. I was walking, and at 5 p.m., bang, chest pain. And I think, what is it? How can I'm slim? I'm supposed to be carrying bags of rice. And what is this? So I kept, and it went on. The pain began to increase. I went to the clinic. The doctor said, you better go to the hospital now. I'm giving you a letter. I went to the hospital. The lady jumped up. 7 people came to attend to me. They said I was having a major heart attack. And the news was, okay, so major heart attack. I asked the Lord above, why? And after that, you remember I told you that I was not alone in this work. That same assurance came. I'm not alone. That God is looking after me. So I survived the heart attack. I went for triple heart bypass surgery. I want to tell you this, friends. The surgeons, the 5 of them who came to see me, and one Dr. Wong looked at me and said, "You know, you have a certain glow on your face, which we as doctors don't usually see. There's something so different about you." And because the main surgeon, Prof. Sivakumar, said, "You know, we're going to do an 8-hour operation on you, and it's going to be very risky. Can you please sign the form?" And he repeated it twice. I said, "Doctors, Prof, I'm willing to go for the surgery." And that's why Dr. Wong said, "You know, you have a different
Aura.
appearance, a glow on your face." So I went through an 8-hour surgery, and I'm given a second lease in life. And I'm able to continue in this work, looking forward for more challenges. I believe God has given me a second chance. Now, in terms of highs, of course, when I came into this work, I gave up my corporate job. Then, lo and behold, 1998, I met the Queen Elizabeth. She came to visit. She came all the way to Petaling Jaya. I spent 45 minutes with her. And it was a very interesting meeting, you know. I wish I could another day show you the photograph of me with the Queen. And when she had passed on, the BBC interviewed me of my 45 minutes with her. And then later on, the other highlight of my work was being appointed as a Human Rights Commissioner for 2 terms. And that itself, Suhakam. And then I was again appointed as a commissioner with the Enforcement Agencies Commission. Both were experiences for me, which to my wildest dreams, I would have never thought coming into full-time work. And, you know, people will say, this guy gave up his job, going to work with children's home. You know, what kind of future, you know? But look at me. I met the Queen and became a commissioner and traveled around. Yes, traveled around the world and traveled around the country, going to the United Nations, representing Malaysia. To my wildest dream, God is able to do that, you know. Now, the low side of it, the not so good side of it, well, you have the situations where but at times where the funds may come low, and then you really got to push the panic button, where people, the communities, you know, recently there was a community where we are working with, and each movement, in each time that we want to go in, they ask for bribes. And I'm one who is not open to that. And so these are times where some parents are told by these groups not to attend, and we have to deal with situations where there are stumbling blocks. We have to take a stand, and we have to take a stand to make some decisions, not to encourage certain forms of practices. But nevertheless, the work still goes on. Whatever the challenges that come, I believe that God, who called me 43 years ago, will continue to provide. That word, provide, in all areas. So I look forward for a greater vision and challenging as well, because I'm told that as long as I'm in this world, there will be trials. And I'm thankful that I'm not alone. Remember, I said I'm not alone. I'm able to face the challenges. But
thank you. We're coming to the close, and certainly we'll let you sum up and give us some very key points. And at this moment, I'll show your slide so that they can have your number as you have suggested. This is Dr. James' number for those of you who may want to contact him. With sorry, I shouldn't move it yet. Which is 012-314-1100. And also present today, we have Sister Cindy Yong, who may keep in touch with you. She feeds the poor in Petaling Street, and Family First founder and director, Dr. Tan Teck Seng, as well as one who set up 17 prison schools in Indonesia, one of the first, in fact, the only one in the country, Indonesia, in Kalimantan. Pastor Thomas is here. And as you prepare to give us your closing thoughts, I just want to show this slide to say that may we be not just hearers of the word, but also doers. And I reflect on what happened when the Israelites cried to God, and he actually went through 4 steps. He heard, he looked down, it's all in Exodus. He was moved, he decided to act, and then he sent Moses. And Moses was not alone throughout the whole process, as we have heard from our dear brother. So I flash these slides again, and maybe in a few seconds, you just want to give us some parting notes and thoughts, how to get off our cool comfort home and get out there and do some work that we are called to do.
Okay, this comes from me, from my heart, because as we started 2024, and we have just coming to an end of September 2024, the amount of people who have passed away, I just am so overwhelmed. I just saw 3 people last week who just passed away. And I tell myself, God, how life is so unpredictable. Nobody planned it. It just came. What more? The lady who went to Jalan Masjid India and just fell into a sinkhole or hole. Life is so unpredictable. And give yourself and thank God that you've made it up to September 2024 and hopefully many more years to come. But to me, being in this work, mission starts at home. I've looked after my aged mother and said that was a blessing for me. Mission starts with our neighborhood. Mission starts with the community, with a place of work where you are, the type of person that you are. You don't have to be in a full-time work as I am, or full-time service. But wherever you are, you're called to be the person, the salt and the light to the community. And so I am encouraging you, and may I share that you will continue wherever you are, being an instrument of love, care, fellowship, to appreciate people when they are around you, not when they are no longer. Likewise, to celebrate friendship, relationship. I'm not one open for petty issues, I overcome petty issues. I'm too immune to such things. They don't bother me much. But being able to meet people, fellowship, thankfully, we're able to have that. And that means a lot, to live each day with thankfulness in our hearts. But let me leave you with this, that there is a future, you must have vision, but always don't lose hope. Always encourage, and always build one another rather than destroy one another, and forgive. This is what I would like to share with you, and would like to bless you, that you will be blessed with good health, strength, hope, as we continue this journey with one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. James. And you actually have just said, get on with your life and live your life for yourself and for others. Now, wherever I preach, I do some impartation. Maybe you just put your hand there, we virtually high-five you and get a touch of your compassion. Yeah, we just get a touch of your
Amen.
compassion.
Bless
Thank you.
you.
Yeah, we just get a touch, a tinge of your compassion.
You know,
So
I was
thank you
once
very much.
I was once I was invited by a Buddhist group. Would you believe? In a big hall, and all they wanted to do was for me to share something. And I said, I'm going to bless you all. I'm going to pronounce the blessings upon each. You know, they all put up in whatever way they put up their hands and they wanted the blessing. And they made me stand at the door to wish as they were going out. And they were all saying how blessed they were. And they were all telling me, giving their receiving of the blessing, appreciating that. Blessings is a wonderful thing.
So thank you very much again, Dr. James. We have just heard from a man of God who goes beyond race and religion and culture to be a blessing to the next generation, to the neglected, underprivileged, abused child, doing this through 40 over years against all odds and challenges, and still doing it with that energy, with that power within him, because he knows that is what he has been called to do. And we cannot say we are also not called to do that. All of us have a calling to share our life with others. Yeah. Thank you very much. With that, first, I will